Mike Griffith here of SEC Country. I'm reporting live from the Neal and Thompson Sports Center, where earlier today the Tennessee Vols football players were performing for 31 of the 32 NFL teams at Tennessee's annual Pro Day. A big day for a lot of these Tennessee Vols, particularly the guys that weren't able to get to the combine. I guess I would start out with Ethan Wolf. He's a guy that I really thought would have, could have, should have been at the NFL Combine. Ethan looked really good. I mean, in terms of how he's trimmed up, in terms of how he's built now. He had a wrist injury that prevented him from bench pressing last season, and so he didn't have maybe the bench press that he wanted. He said he wasn't aware of his speed. He was aiming for a sub 4.7 40. They did not post any times, Tennessee not releasing any times. It's different from staff to staff. Of course, this is now the Jeremy Pruitt era, and this is Jeremy Pruitt's first time as a head coach, and as Pruitt goes, he will pick up his rules, he'll pick up his methodology for what he wants to release and how he wants to release it. Jeremy Pruitt will be doing some interviews later today. However, those interviews will be limited to the local Knoxville television stations. Of course, Coach Pruitt met with myself and a handful of the other Tennessee football media a couple of weeks ago, and so today he will meet exclusively with the local with the local Knoxville television media. So that's something to look out for. I just spoke with Marshall Hughes of WATE 6. I know he'll be representing WATE 6, so that is something to look for later today. Jeremy Pruitt will be on the local Knoxville television affiliates, but will not meet with any other media. We did not see Jeremy out here. I'm sure he talked with some of the coaches. Again, 31 of the 32 NFL teams were represented, and as I mentioned, I started with Ethan Wolf. I thought Ethan did well. If you're wondering why Ethan Wolf wasn't at the NFL Combine, it's because there are so many tight ends in this year's draft. And I think one of the things that Ethan can do that'll differentiate himself is he can block as well as catch the ball. He's a great athlete. I think he's a great character guy. You remember that going into this year, there were some questions about his ability to be physical. I think that Ethan Wolf answered those questions, and I think Ethan Wolf will play in the NFL. I like what he's made of. I like his character. I like his leadership abilities. And I think he's a guy that some NFL team will bring Ethan Wolf into camp, and I think he will make a roster. In the event that he doesn't, then I would strongly say he would be on a practice squad. So another guy that I talked to today, a name that I know Tennessee fans didn't see as much as they wanted to see this year, was Evan Berry. And to me, Evan has got a gift for the return game like no one else I've ever covered. And I told Evan that. He's an absolute game changer. I think if Evan would have played more games for Tennessee last year, I think he could have been the difference in 2 or 3 other games. And that may seem extreme, but you've got to remember what field position means and how many kicks he returned for touchdowns over the course of his career. Could that have changed the game against South Carolina or Kentucky, maybe even that first half against Missouri? If you plug in an Evan Berry, he's a game changer. He produces field position, he produces touchdowns, and I think he can do it the next level as well. Evan revealed that he had a broken hand that put him out for the season. He had come back from the knee and the hamstring that had bothered him after that Georgia Tech game, and then the hand is what put him out. They didn't release any numbers, but to me, Evan Berry, a guy that could probably run a sub 4.4 on a good day. But again, no numbers have been released. Coach Pruitt has not put those numbers out yet. Another guy I talked to today was Rashaan Gaulden. Rashaan did not have the best combine in Indianapolis, so today was very important for him. In Indianapolis, they were working him out as a cornerback. He didn't run a good number, and so today they worked him out as a safety. I think Rashaan Gaulden can be a starting defensive back one day in the NFL. He weighed in at 191 today, but he's long, he plays the ball really well, and he's a really good open field tackler, a big hitter, and a guy with some good ball skills and knows how to high point the ball. So Rashaan Gaulden is a guy I expect to be drafted, and I think he had a really good day today. So good news for Rashaan Gaulden. Again, they didn't put out any numbers, but he looked good and he felt good, and generally speaking, that's a pretty good gauge. A guy usually has a pretty good idea how he performed. John Kelly met with the media today as well. I thought John was pretty impressive. He ran a 4.50 and a 4.65 40. We don't have any official numbers, but those are the numbers that John said he had heard. Most of the work with John has already been done on game film. John isn't a guy that was expected to test out in some crazy fashion, but he really benefits from what Alvin Kamara was able to do in the league. John comes out of the same type of offense, and if you look at the numbers when they were both in the same backfield 2 years ago, they were comparable numbers. So I think that John Kelly benefits a great deal from what Alvin Kamara was able to do in the NFL this year. And I think someone will draft John Kelly as well. I expect him to go right around the 3rd or 4th round. The same time, I would say that Rashaan Gaulden will be picked. We met with Kendall Vickers. Kendall at 291 pounds. Kendall will probably be a free agent, but another good character, leadership type of guy. I expect to see Kendall Vickers in a camp. I hope that he can make a practice squad because I think he's a guy who could grow into an NFL player. He obviously needs to get bigger, but you're talking about a real true warrior with Kendall Vickers. He was the only guy that didn't miss a start the last 2 years of his career at Tennessee, and a great team leader, a captain at Tennessee, and a guy that an NFL team will want to see make it. That helps out a lot. When you've got that kind of character and leadership like Kendall Vickers has, that makes a team that much more willing to take a chance, maybe bring you in, even though you may be 10 or 15 pounds too light, maybe you're 40 times a tenth of a second too slow. But I look for Kendall Vickers to be a guy who could do things in the NFL. Trevor Daniel, the punter, we talked with him today. He's got great numbers, but Trevor Daniel, a guy that needs to get it done in these individual workouts. And remember, as he said at punter, it's not like the other positions. You're not competing against just other punters. There's not a set number they're going to get drafted every year. You're competing against guys that are in the NFL trying to take their job. It's a really difficult place to break in as a kicker or a punter in the NFL. But, you know, Trevor Daniel, if you remember his story, he was a walk-on here who earned a scholarship. He's a great athlete, even beyond being a punter. So he's the type of guy I think that can stick around and be persistent and make it. And it certainly helps him that Tennessee has a great legacy of punters from here. Obviously, the Colquitt family, chief among them. So those were the primary guys. I saw Khalil McKenzie here as well. I wasn't able to get a chance to talk with him. He was doing an interview when I was interviewing someone else, so I missed him. And then out of the blue, just as a side note, Duke Cruz. If you remember, Duke Cruz was a forward on one of those Bruce Pearl teams. Duke gave me a great stat. He says he was 38-0 in Thompson Bowling Arena. So a former basketball player, Duke Cruz, was here. I saw Grant Williams come through here as well. Obviously a tough day for those Vol basketball players as they look up at the bracket and see that they would have been playing number 7 seed Nevada. But it was good to see them in here en route to training. You know, they said they were going to get back to work. And, you know, here we are on Monday, and they're already back in class, and they're already getting back in the weight room. So the tips to watch for today, I'll be writing some stories on John Kelly, Rashaan Gaulden. I'll probably follow up with Trevor Daniel. And then tune in to your local Knoxville television affiliates. And I would really strongly recommend checking Marshall Hughes of WAT6 on Twitter. They will be doing interviews with Jeremy Pruitt later. Only the Knoxville television affiliates, no one else. But there will be some Jeremy Pruitt news coming out today. And then tomorrow is the start of spring football, and Jeremy Pruitt will meet with everyone. And Tennessee fans can, you know, get their minds and their eyes set on football once again as spring football starts tomorrow. So that's my wrap from here in the Neal and Thompson Sports Center. Check me out on Twitter at MikeGriffith32, and you can check my stories out at SECCountry.com. I've got a story up from what Jeremy Pruitt said about hiring Chris Winkie, Heisman Trophy winner, now coaching the running backs here at Tennessee. And Pruitt had some really interesting things to say. There's a story up on that. So Tennessee fans, get ready. Spring football is about ready to start, and Jeremy Pruitt will be coming to a television set to you very soon this afternoon. Have a great one.